Welcome to the Deception Tale Workshop. My wife slid an ultrasound photo towards me on our kitchen table, her face streaked with tears as she whispered the words I'd long feared. "I'm pregnant, Owen." Yet instead of joy or relief, a chilling suspicion took hold within me, settling in my stomach like a heavy stone. For when one has already prepared divorce documents due to multiple instances of deceit, when one has spent half a year witnessing the decay of a marriage in real time, such timing doesn't feel miraculous. It feels like a snare. I was 34 years old, a senior project manager at a civil engineering firm, and I had been married to Bridget for 7 years. 7 years that had gradually transformed from companionship into a theatrical spectacle. The woman I'd wedded, shrewd, autonomous, career-driven, had transformed into someone barely familiar to me, a person who neglected to inform me about her quitting her marketing job, a compulsive shopper whose spending depleted our shared account thrice, a person I discovered in a prolonged emotional entanglement with her former boyfriend, which she vowed never escalated physically. The divorce documents were already with my lawyer. We were only 2 weeks away from filing, and now this. Bridget spoke, sliding the ultrasound image towards me. The monochrome picture revealed an undeniable curve of a small figure, labeled as 7 weeks old. "I understand if you find it odd," she said, "but believe me, that's our child." I studied the image for quite some time. A part of me yearned to trust it, a part that recalled our initial year together, exploring Colorado and dreaming about the life we would create. The part that had grown accustomed to Bridget's routines was calculating silently. 7 weeks would place conception near the point when I found those messages, near the time I requested separation from her, near the time she started showing signs of distress. "Anxious, which clinic did you visit?" I asked softly. She hesitated. "Women's Health Associates located on Meridian." "When?" "Yesterday afternoon. I thought my symptoms were just stress." Then I skipped my period and I needed to know. I nodded hesitantly. "Do you have the records, the summary of the visit?" Her jaw clenched. "They mentioned they'd send it via email. Why are you questioning me about this?" "Because 7 years of marriage didn't guarantee honesty from you," I said coldly. "Now I verify." She stood up, ultrasound in hand. "You're astonishing, carrying your child, and I treat you like a suspect." "Display the email, the appointment confirmation, anything tangible proving its origin." That's what Bridget demanded, her cheeks reddening. "I don't owe you proof. If you doubt me, it's your issue." She stormed upstairs, leaving me seated at the table for another 20 minutes, gazing at my phone. Then I delved into my contacts and dialed Vance Merrick, the private investigator suggested by my divorce attorney when initial suspicions of Bridget's infidelity arose. Vance picked up on the second ring. "I didn't anticipate your call so soon," he said. "I need you to verify something urgently," I responded. 36 hours later, I heard back from Vance. In that interval, I observed Bridget meticulously, jotting down any discrepancies. She exhibited an increased vigilance over her phone and made frequent calls to her sister Fiona, always moving away after dialing. Bridget frequently displayed dramatic interest in baby names when I was nearby, giving a near-convincing show. "You were correct to be suspicious," Vance stated during our meeting at a downtown coffee shop. He pushed a folder towards me on the table. "I procured medical records from Women's Health Associates via a subpoena request. Your lawyer expedited it due to the ongoing divorce proceedings." Bridget has not been a patient there for 3 years, with no scheduled or completed appointments in the past month and no ultrasound. As I carefully opened the folder, my hands remained steady. "Now let's discuss the origin of this photo. That's where it gets intriguing." Vance took out his tablet, scrolling through screenshots. "I performed some cross-referencing. Your wife's sister Fiona is indeed pregnant at 28 weeks. I discovered her baby registry, social media posts she'd made in a private group that a contact granted me access to. The dates align perfectly." A chill swept through my chest. Bridget employed her sister's ultrasound image. It appeared undeniably clear to see. Vance pointed out a photo from Fiona's Instagram story 2 months old, another ultrasound snapshot, yet the patient ID number was partially legible. He then displayed the picture Bridget had provided me. The clinic watermark and image quality were virtually identical when reformatted. "Fiona frequents a clinic in Riverside," Vance added. "I verified she had an appointment the day preceding Bridget showing you that photo. They were orchestrating this together." I sank back into my chair, contemplating the magnitude of the deception. This was not a spur-of-the-moment lie. It was premeditated fraud involving family members, fabricated medical evidence, and a carefully devised plan to mislead me into dropping the divorce. "Can you verify they're colluding?" I inquired. Vance smiled grimly. Indeed, I have been anticipating this question. Phone records subpoena arrived this morning. In the past 3 weeks, Bridget and Fiona have exchanged 214 calls and texts. 12 calls, the longest lasting 47 minutes, preceded Bridget showing you the ultrasound the day before. He produced another document. Moreover, a colleague contacted Fiona's husband Leonard about a potential insurance fraud investigation. Leonard grew uneasy and admitted that Bridget had a copy of Fiona's ultrasound photo. Although he found it strange, he considered it harmless. Unbeknownst to him, Bridget was using this to fabricate a pregnancy. A sense of unease washed over me. This surpassed the affair and the lies. It was meticulously planned manipulation involving one of the most emotionally powerful situations conceivable, and she drew her sister into it, jeopardizing Fiona's marriage, all to ensnare me. I need everything thoroughly documented, I stated. I remember logging every discrepancy in the timeline, Leonard's statement, and medical records showing no pregnancy. My attorney must use this evidence to bury her in court, Vance agreed. You're pursuing a scorched earth strategy. She attempted to feign pregnancy to prevent a divorce. I responded quietly. There's no turning back now. I want the judge to see her true self. The divorce hearing is set for 3 weeks from now. During that period, Bridget sustained the pregnancy act with unsettling dedication. She began wearing loose clothes, feigned morning sickness, publicly took prenatal vitamins, scheduled a supposed OBGYN appointment, and upon return home, presented a folder of informational pamphlets she claimed were from an actual medical appointment. I later found out they were free downloads from parenting websites. I played along, allowing her to think I was wavering, believing the act was successful. My attorney Gloria Tanaka specializes in high-conflict divorce cases. When I initially hired her 6 months ago, it was for a simple asset division case. Now she's gearing up for battle. This is fraud, Gloria asserted during our final strategy meeting. The case involves alleged medical fraud, which could lead to criminal charges depending on the court's interpretation of intent. It extends beyond divorce matters now, carrying potential legal repercussions. I nodded in agreement. What's our plan? She presented a folder filled with evidence. We initially brought up her claim of pregnancy in her own words. This has been crucial to her plea for reconciliation and increased support. Next, we aim to discredit it. Phone records indicating coordination with Fiona, medical records proving no pregnancy, Leonard's statement, forensic analysis of the ultrasound photo metadata showing it was produced at Riverside Women's Center rather than Women's Health Associates, and a court-ordered pregnancy test will be our key pieces of evidence. If she consents to the test, we'll refuse it. Either way, her credibility will be undermined. Gloria looked directly at me. Owen, this battle is going to get tough. You'll be accused of callousness, of disbelieving your own child. The court will present evidence meant to portray you as a monster. Let it be, I responded. I have the truth, that's enough. The courtroom was smaller than anticipated. Judge Casolano, a man with silver hair in his early 60s and a reputation for firm rulings, sat on the bench. Bridget sat across the table with her attorney Marcus Holt, a divorce lawyer who focused on maximizing spousal support claims. Dressed modestly in blue, Bridget applied minimal makeup and occasionally touched her stomach, likely hoping to appear wronged, vulnerable, and in need of protection. Judge Casolano examined the preliminary documents. This case carries some unique complexities, he stated. Mrs. Whitmore has filed an emergency motion to postpone divorce proceedings due to a recently discovered pregnancy. Whitmore challenges both the proposed motion and the reality of the pregnancy itself. Mrs. Whitmore, as you declare, Bridget whisperingly states, you are allegedly 11 weeks pregnant as of today. Your Honor, she says softly, I understand my husband doubts me, our marriage has faced troubles, but I'm carrying his child and I'm pleading for a chance to reconstruct our family. Judge Casolano turns to Gloria Tanaka, asking for her client's stance. Gloria rises. Your Honor, my client asserts that Mrs. Whitmore is fabricating this pregnancy before the court and personally deceiving Mr. Whitmore. We have substantial proof demonstrating not only that she isn't pregnant, but that she has concocted a scheme involving falsified medical records and family collusion. We request permission to present our evidence. Holt suddenly stands. Your Honor, he exclaims, this is an appalling allegation, withdraw it. Judge Casolano curtly responds, Ms. Tanaka, this accusation is outrageous, retract it. Tanaka, present your solid proof, as this should be convincing. Gloria moved toward the bench with her initial piece of evidence, an enlarged copy of the ultrasound image provided by Bridget. Your Honor, she said, This is the picture Mrs. Whitmore provided to my client as verification of pregnancy. She asserted it was from an appointment at Women's Health Associates on October 3rd. However, we have medical records showing that Mrs. Whitmore has not been a patient there since 2022 and had no appointment on the stated date. She presented the clinic's official documentation. Judge Casolano read it, maintaining an impassive expression. In addition, Gloria added, forensic analysis of this image's metadata indicates it was originally produced at Riverside Women's Center a day before Mrs. Whitmore showed it to my client. It is important to note that Mrs. Whitmore's sister, Fiona Garrett, receives prenatal care for her own pregnancy at Riverside Women's Center. Bridget's complexion had turned white. In a flurry, Holt was sorting through documents, clearly taken aback. Gloria added another piece of evidence onto the table. Over 3 weeks, communications between Mrs. Whitmore and her sister amounted to 214, showing a considerable increase just before the supposed ultrasound disclosure, with a sworn statement from Leonard Garrett, Fiona's husband, verifying that his wife shared an ultrasound image with Mrs. Whitmore. The courtroom fell silent. Your Honor, Gloria stated calmly but firmly, Mrs. Whitmore falsified her pregnancy to influence my client into dropping divorce proceedings. She utilized her sister's actual pregnancy in a complex deception. We ask for a court-ordered pregnancy test to definitively establish the truth. Judge Casolano looked at Bridget, his countenance unwavering. Mrs. Whitmore, he said, do you consent to a pregnancy test performed by a medical facility appointed by the court? Bridget hesitated, opening and closing her mouth. I observed her navigating the math problems, confessing a falsehood, resisting the test, upholding the facade. Each choice was self-imposed entrapment. Your Honor, she stammered, this is embarrassing. I shouldn't have to verify. That's not an answer, Judge Casolano stated bluntly. Will you undergo the test, yes or no? The seconds stretched. I witnessed her giving way at that instant, her shoulders drooping, tears becoming genuine this time. No, she murmured. No, I'm not pregnant. The courtroom echoed with commotion. Holt was on his feet trying to recover something. Judge Casolano's gavel sounded like thunder. Order, he barked. Upon the restoration of silence, he addressed Bridget with an expression of barely suppressed disdain. Mrs. Whitmore, do you comprehend that you have deceived this court, that you have misused judicial resources and sought to manipulate your husband using fabricated medical proof? Bridget was crying openly now, but I felt nothing. No sense of fulfillment or justification, only an empty weariness. Your emergency appeal is rejected, Judge Casolano stated. In addition, you are being penalized for filing a false claim. Your petition for spousal support is rejected entirely. The marital assets will be divided based on Mr. Whitmore's proposed settlement, which honestly is more generous than you rightfully deserve. I am submitting this case to the district attorney's office for review of possible criminal charges. He glanced at me momentarily. Mr. Whitmore, your divorce petition is granted. This marriage is terminated instantly. The conclusion was sterile. I signed documents. Bridget signed documents. Our lawyers managed the asset distribution. She received her car and half the furniture while I kept the house and my retirement accounts. The entire process took 90 minutes. Fiona called me 2 days later sobbing, trying to clarify. I wasn't aware she would use it that way, she asserted. You informed me that she spoke about your harsh behavior concerning the divorce, hoping to remind you of what could be shared between you. I presumed she was hinting at showing you an ultrasound as a means to reconsider family planning, not suggesting it was hers. You provided her with grounds for deceit, I whispered softly. The matter of Leonard is something you must resolve on your own. I have no interest in either of you, she ended the call. I later found out that Leonard had filed for separation, which was beyond my purview. The district attorney's office refused to prosecute, as evidence of financial harm was required for criminal fraud charges, and since the court process halted before Bridget gained anything, they saw no valid case. However, her actions were documented in family court as fraud, a mark that would haunt any future legal engagements she might have. I altered my phone number, banned her from all platforms, sold the house 6 months afterwards, and relocated downtown to a condo featuring wall-to-wall windows devoid of shared recollections. A year post-divorce, I encountered Gloria at a legal conference my firm was supporting. How are you? She inquired. Improved, I responded, and it was accurate as I'd advanced in rank, resumed hiking, rekindled friendships that had lapsed during the marriage. I no longer dwell on her, Gloria smiled. That's the best revenge, constructing something she cannot reach. She spoke truthfully, but occasionally I'm reminded of the courtroom scene where Bridget's entire persona crumbled, the realization in her gaze. that she had wagered everything on a deception and lost dramatically, not because I was more cunning or brutal, but because I refused to be controlled by manipulation. There exists a unique sort of insight that originates from observing someone demolish themselves with their own deceit. You no longer question your decision. There's no more self-doubt regarding being too stern, too skeptical, or unforgiving. For someone who falsely claimed to carry your child for manipulation, there is no path to redemption. Only the truth emerges in court, shattering the fabrication they wove. I kept Judge Casolano's ruling as a record in my files, not as a trophy but as a reminder. Trust your intuition, document everything, and never let anyone persuade you that your truth can be compromised. 3 years later, Bridget tried to reconnect via social media. I rejected her request without reading her message. Not all stories need conclusions. At 38, I'm dating again, constructing a life of my own. The architect I've been seeing for 6 months, Iris, once asked me why I was cautious about trust. I told her I learned the consequences of disregarding warning signs, and she nodded, comprehending with her eyes. I'll ensure you won't dismiss me under false pretenses. That was the distinction. Authentic partnership doesn't necessitate deceit, insincere actions, or desperate scheming. It thrives on the unexciting, unromantic base of truthfulness. Bridget failed to grasp that. I learned through shared connections that she had swiftly remarried some executives she'd encountered at a conference. Their marriage ended in divorce within 2 years. Apparently, she had been exposed for lying about her professional background and inventing qualifications, behaviors I've learned don't alter. They merely find new targets, but I was no longer one of them. I had been tested, deceived, and compelled to decide between comfortable denial and harsh reality. And I chose truth. Even when it meant dismantling the life I envisioned for myself, the court saw everything. The jury of one who mattered had rendered its verdict, and I left that courtroom a free individual.